everybody. Lord Tremendous here. Got another book review here for you. This one is number 13 of the Persolus Race, The Trip Home. It is written by L.E. Doggett. It is still science fiction, still published on August 26, 2021. And this one is a whopping 4 pages long. So buckle up, because this one's going to be extreme. No, not really. Sorry, I just like psyching everyone up. Basically, the main character in this one doesn't have a name. It's some random criminal guy that's serving his sentence, but I assume it's a he. It might be a she. It doesn't really say in the book. There's no name or anything. It's in first person, but they don't ever really refer to themselves with a name or gender or anything like that, which I guess makes sense. I don't need to tell myself my name or my gender whenever I'm having deep thoughts. So, okay, I can get there. But basically, they've been out in space for 15 years trying to find aliens and didn't find any. But after being gone for 15 years, seeing the Earth on the view screen, it's just wowie zowie stuff. And I'm gonna call him a he. I'm gonna assume it's a he. He's so happy to see Earth again. The blue of the planet just it's like nothing else in the universe. This author really likes describing colors too. 4 pages, I would say there's probably at least a third of a page, if not more, that's just straight different descriptions of colors. But I mean, they do a good job describing them, so I'm not going to fault them on that. The cover for this book is fine. No, we've already been over that. The editing of this, no problem whatsoever. The story flow, it flowed. I mean, it was fine, and the feel, it was a little weird, but honestly, okay, no big deal at all. I have no issue with the way story was written at all. I'm not going to bother with a spoiler-less review because this is a 4 page long story. Whatever. So I'm going to skip that part, save everybody a bunch of time, and just go straight to the spoiler-filled side. If you don't like it, pause it, buy the book, read the 4 pages, then come back and watch this. I don't know what to tell you. It's 4 pages. There's no way I could do a review without spoiling everything. So anyway, the guy, like I said, I just think it's a guy. It's never really confirmed, is watching on a view screen of his ship, the Earth get bigger, and is crying with joy. He's been gone for 15 years and really missed Earth. Been all over the universe, seen a bunch of different stuff, describes the colors a lot, but 15 years gone. It doesn't seem like that long. He's a criminal. He was literally put on this ship because he faked being an alien in order to try to defraud a government and buy some oceanside property. I'm not kidding. That was it. And his punishment for that, for trying to defraud the government and faking alien life and all that stuff, was to be put on a ship and sent out into space to try and find aliens. So basically, the justice system in the future is if you do something wrong, we send you off planet to work for us. And for some reason, that works. Like, nobody goes, thanks for the $1 trillion ship and the freedom. You'll never see me again. I don't get this happens a couple of times in this book, and I don't fully understand that. It's like, okay, well, I committed fraud, and they go, well, here's a boat. We're gonna put you into the ocean, and you're gonna be by yourself, and we're gonna make sure you're completely supplied and everything like that, and have apparently some sort of money to get more supplies as you need them over the years. But your job is to search for Atlantis, and don't come back until you find it, or we call you back. Oh, and feel free to make port wherever you want, and not have to check in, and not have to do anything else while you're gone, and you feel bad about what you did, and that's justice. I don't get where this is coming from, or why so many authors in this collection think that that's a good, like, I don't know, catalyst for the to launch their story from, because that is just absurdly ridiculous. I mean, there would be a whole, if that was really happening, let's say in 1,000 years that actually starts happening, there would be a whole corporation of independent flyers, freelancers, that would be out there in their little shooter boats that could be paid off by the families that were wronged by these criminals to literally blow these people out of the sky. I mean, that's how I'd make my money. Vengeance Corps. Just what a weird justice system that they see in the future. So anyway, The guy finds nothing, which is that's pretty much par for the course. That's what this book is founded on. There is no other alien life in the universe that we found yet. And for reasons unknown, not even the main character in this one knows, he was recalled back after 15 years. And that's it. The story ends and he's weeping uncontrollably because he's so happy to see Earth again. The end. I mean, I don't get it. I don't get the story. I don't understand why this was added to this collection. It adds nothing to the story. It brings nothing forward. It doesn't help at all, other than to maybe get into lore that the legal system of the future is a joke. I can't believe that planets are, taken over more often, because the worst punishment I've seen so far is you've gotta leave the planet on a ship with all the freedom and feel free to go wherever you want, whenever you want. Don't even worry about it. You just can't come back here until either you found alien life or you're dead, or we recall you for some arbitrary reason. It's super weird. The fact that they have entire ships available to send people out willy-nilly like this for some random, wild goose chase just blows my mind. But honestly, I didn't like this one. I gave it 2 stars, and it's got nothing to do with the way it was written or anything like that. I don't see the point. It wasn't good. There was no purpose. It was a little aggravating, a little annoying. There was a lot of description of colors and how the guy painted the ship while he was gone for 50, but nothing. His entire thing was failure. His entire purpose was failure, and he got recalled for no reason. Like, there was nothing to latch onto to enjoy in the story. I I don't get it. It feels like a prologue to a better story, and like a really bad prologue too. So 2 stars was the best that I could do. I didn't like it. I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it. But since it was only 4 pages long, and I wasn't going to do an entire video on just a 4 page long story, here's number 14, The Placebo Effect, written by Steph Millar. It's science fiction. This was still published on August 26, 2021. This one's 31 pages, so this one will be a little bit longer, but I'm just tacking it onto this one as an extra review because a 4 page story just really wasn't worth it. And I didn't realize that the next story was only 4 pages long when I finished a previous review, or I would have just tacked it onto this one. So either way, you get the bonus review, and you're welcome. This one's a little bit more interesting. Valeria Val Diaz is the main character of this story. Basically, Val has been on a space station telescope thingy for 24 years. She is on the ragged edge of known space. Came here, 24 years ago anyway, she was on the ragged edge. And she came here to work with this guy, George. And he's basically a minor scientific celebrity that did a bunch of documentaries, explored a bunch of stuff. He was well known, rich, famous, all that jazz. And he decided to throw it all in, to one bucket, Elon Musk style, and build this space station on a small moon on the ragged edge of the known universe in order to try to spot alien life. I think it's weird that a telescope is the way he went about trying to figure this out, just sticking it on some, moon on the very edge of space and try to spot life. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I think an actual ship running around the universe would have probably been better, but this is occurring in the year 4026. So 2004 years from now, as of this recording. So I assume that telescope technology was a lot better than what I know of it as now. For all the good that it does him. Basically, Val has a infatuation with this George guy, joined up in order to work with, one of the best. I mean, honestly, it would be like working with Einstein or Hawking's or even deGrasse Tyson. You know what I mean? So I get it. It's a good premise. I like this one. It's better than Val being arrested for, murder and then being put on this space station to, I don't know, find alien life, which seems to be the punishment for all nonviolent crimes. I'm not really sure anymore. But George fails, which I like. I do like that the book stays to that. Like, no alien life is found. They stick to that. But he fails, George is dying, Val goes through grief, and there's a robot named Hermes as well. It's kind of an odd story. The cover is, fine. Editing, this was good. There was a few wording issues. This is a nitpick critique, I know that, but this author liked to use, and this kind of falls into story flow and feel. This author uses really, really big words unnecessarily. I understood them. I won't lie. There was two of them I had to Google because it was way outside of my lexicon. But so the author's got a great vocabulary. The only problem with that, and again, this is a huge nitpick. This is a minor thing. I know that. I want to make that very clear, but I want to point it out. When you write a book, typically, in my opinion, you should write it for the broader audience because that's what you're writing for. This isn't for a group of, literary, geniuses or anything like that. This is for mass consumer consumption. So you use words. Yes, it's totally fine to use big words occasionally, but the really obscure words, the ones that are way, way out there that are almost never used anymore, you should probably dodge those a little bit because it screws up the story flow, screws up the feel. It kind of makes your reader feel dumb, and that might make them put down your book. I'm not saying not to do it. Every author has their voice, and I respect that. It's a very, very minor nitpick complaint, but I want to point it out because that's the purpose of these, to point things out like that. May the author or whoever's watching this do with that information what they will. The prose, this is a spoiler-free version. This is a 31-page short story. I will do a full review, both free and spoiler-filled. So the prose for this one is, it's well written. I didn't have a problem. There was some issues with some of the word choices, in my opinion, but these are minor, nitpicky gripes. There was a couple of times that the tense got screwed up, past and future and stuff like that. Not the end of the world. It wasn't bad. It was well written. It gives an odd perspective of life in space. This is kind of a depressing story. There's no uplifting and there's no like anecdote or lesson learned or anything like that. It's kind of it's a story about failure and wasting your life. It's super weird like that, but it definitely captured my attention. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was I didn't want to put it down because as sad as it was, as depressing as the story was, it was attention grabbing. Like there, at no point that I ever like distracted or looked at my phone or hoped somebody would come into the room to talk to me or anything like that. So the author is definitely able to grab a reader's attention, and there's a lot to be said for that. That is respectful on its own. There are some cons. It's the year 4026. The main character is 57 years old. He's complaining about joints, memory loss, the inability to talk. They're real groggy. It's 2004 years into the future. 2,000 years ago, people were living to the ripe old age of 15. 7 was middle age, okay? 2,000 years later, we're on average living to about 100. I got to assume that by the year 4026, if humanity's still around, the middle age is no longer 7 years old. She's walking around like 57 years old is this crippling age. There's plenty of 60 and 70-year-olds nowadays with modern medicine doing just fine. And there's no reason to believe that Val would not have had access to modern medicine and stuff like that. In fact, they have a care bot. They have medical beds and plenty of drugs because George is on his way out. So, and he's only 102, but they've got him acting like, he's 306. And I'm just like, it bothers me. And that's been a recurring theme in a lot of these stories in this collection. The authors seem to forget that it's hundreds, if not thousands of years in the future, and the technology will grow. We're traveling the universe, we're terraforming planets, we're literally sending out skyscraper-sized terraforming things to automatically terraform planets, to scan and terraform planets. I mean, the technology is super awesome. And they don't really, very few of the authors have actually capitalized on that. And this author is no different. This might as well be 2026 and they're on the moon for all the advanced technology that you see. It's really kind of just, how do I say it? This is really, it feels like a failure, like a missed opportunity, and it bothers me a lot. A lot of latitudes are taken. Like the name of the story is The Placebo Effect. The author takes a lot of latitudes with what a placebo actually is. They make a lot of metaphors about a placebo and stuff like that. And it reminded me a lot about that song Ironic, where nothing in the song is actually ironic. It's unfortunate. Not everything that they refer to as a placebo, figuratively or otherwise, isn't a placebo, but it's like, no, no, none of that is really true. And the author also takes some liberties with like ethics and stuff like that. It just, there's not a person in the world that would say this is an ethics violation. I'll get into the spoiler ones, but they make a choice in order to help out George, and then it tries to frame it like some sort of ethics issue. For all the big words you used, you should know better. I don't know. It tries very hard to be deep, and it doesn't hurt the story. Don't get me wrong. This is me nitpicking, but it gets a little preachy at one point, and it tries to get real deep and philosophical, and it really just kind of comes off as a high school kid that was told that they were smart for far too long and has started to believe the lie. I mean, it's just enough. Don't preach, tell the story. That's what you're here to do. uh, and I put this in a con. I don't have like a middle of the road category, all right? I'm sorry. But it's a really depressing story. It's literally the story of Val and George and everybody else that ever touched this space station that they're on. It's it's a story of failure, of wasted lives and lost potential. It's very sad. It's not bad. It's not bad at all, but it's super depressing, and honestly, it's interesting. I like the perspective shift. None of the other stories have really touched on a sad or just a feel bad story type of thing. So it was definitely an interesting perspective to see a story from this collection told from. But just there's no payoff. There's no resolution. There's no silver lining. It's just, yeah, we really overestimated the chance of success here. All in all, though, this one was good. I enjoyed it. There was some things that, yeah, I would definitely change up, but in the end, this was an easy choice at a 4 star. I liked it. It was different. And yeah, like I said, there were some problems with it, absolutely, in my opinion. But all in all, it caught my attention and it held my attention the entire time, all 31 pages. At no point did I look at my phone, did I look at my other computer, did I look at, the hallway hoping somebody would interrupt me or something like that. That never happened. It was a definite attention grabber, definitely a well told story. Like I said, there's a few things here and there that bothered me about the story. Really bothers me that the author seemed to forget that it was the year 4026 and these ages. I mean, I gotta think that if by 4026 we're not lasting to 200-300 years old and 57 isn't even middle aged, then we're failing something serious. I mean, there's got to be something wrong there. But all in all, I enjoyed it. It was a well told story, and honestly, I would read something else by this author. If nothing more, it's a sad story, it's a depressing story, but it's entertaining. It's interesting, and we need more authors like that. Bravo. So the spoiler-filled review, if you don't like spoilers, I totally get that. Please feel free to go down to the description below, click the link, buy the book, read the story, come back, watch the video, and let me know if I nailed it, if I failed it, or if I'm somewhere in between. Let me know in the comment section. Love to have a conversation. So the story starts off, Val has been on this space station for 24 years of her life. She's 57 years old, joined at what, 33? But basically she joined this place because, well, she starts off complaining about like being older and her body's kind of deteriorating and stuff like that. She's 57 years old. It's the year 4026. Why are there no medical advancements that make it so that we're living to 300 years old or whatever? Like 2,000 years ago, people were living to the ripe old age of 15. Now life expectancy is reasonably around 100 years old. I got to imagine in a couple thousand years, medical advancements, if we're still around, will definitely show, hey, we're lasting a lot longer than 100. Yeah. There's been no nuclear war, or loss of knowledge or science or anything like that. So I really don't understand why 57 is old. They're acting like it's the year 2026 instead of 4026, and that happens a lot in this collection. The authors seem to forget what year it is, and that's really frustrating because it's the year 4026. You get to make up any technology you want. Like, she should be like, oh, I'm sore, and she takes a pill, and suddenly she's got the body of a 20-year-old. I mean, there's no way. There's no way. In a previous story, they have pills to cure cerebral palsy. They don't have anything to cure arthritis. I got an issue with that. But anyway, Val is kind of reflecting on her life the past 24 years, her entire life, her entire 57 years, really, and realized that she's kind of wasted it. She joined this crew because of this guy, George, who is a creator of the station. He's a minor celebrity, scientific figure type of person, and basically he created this space station, this telescope thing, to try to find alien life, proof of alien life, and failed. It's just not out there. Like I said, why they chose a telescope to figure this out and not just build a ship where they traveled around, different systems hoping to find something is beyond me. But telescope, I guess, was the way they wanted to go about it, and they failed miserably. When they first started off, there was about 8 people on the space station with them, but over the time, everybody left except for Val and George and their Carabot Hermes, which is probably the best character in the entire thing. Sorry, I got a thing for the side characters. I don't know what it is. But anyway, everybody that left the space station, with the exception of one person, they failed. Their lives were never professionally successful, even kind of personally successful. Most of them just kind of failed at life after leaving this thing, mostly because of the association. It was kind of like a laughing stock. The guy fell out of favor in the scientific community. Val isn't even really talked about in the people that left. It's all bad. If you touch this thing, it basically ruins your career, ruins your life, with the exception of one person. But Val's kind of looking back at that, and she's like, oh, damn, I really did waste my entire life. George dies in the end, but before he does, Val has this big moment where she kind of goes through this placebo, philosophical debate with herself. Again, a lot of the latitudes that she takes with the placebo term aren't correct, or it's a real stretch. Like, fire is actually wet if you think about it. You just can't touch it long enough for your hands to get wet. It's like, no, that's not what any of those words mean. I see where you're going with it, and I know you're trying to be deep, but no, that's not right. And that's really what that entire section was. But after contemplating all the different metaphors for placebo, she decides to have an ethics crisis of conscience, which is weird because it's really not. The man is dying. George is dying. He's on his way out. He spent his whole, glory years on a space station on the ragged edge of the universe trying to find life and failed. And so instead of letting him die as a failure, she conjures up this BS report where she basically shows him, we found it, we did it, you weren't wrong. And he dies happy. He's delirious. He calls her by his ex-wife's name, stuff like that, but he dies happy. That's not an ethics violation. She didn't do anything unethical. She eased the passing of a sad old man. It would have been an ethics violation if she tried to publish those findings as real or something like that. And it's just, again, it's like, that doesn't make any sense. And yes, I'm griping, I'm nitpicking. That's what this channel is about. If you haven't figured it out by now, I apologize. But yes, it's not an ethics violation. It's the only real silver lining to this entire kind of depressing story. George dies happy because Val manufactured finding alien life and then immediately destroyed it. Like, she didn't try to push it. She didn't send it to anybody. She destroyed it. The robot finds it. It's like, why'd you destroy it? And she gets mad at him. Like, there was a human response. The author nails that. And it's weird, though, that she would have an ethics conundrum about it. It's not at all. It's not a big deal at all. In fact, there's not a human with a soul in existence now or 2,000 years from now that wouldn't understand what she did. In fact, I think most people reading the story would have been like, make it up and just tell him as he's dying. I mean, come on. Anyway, he leaves everything to her, obviously, and she sells it to the government, the ISA, which, again, it's the smart move. I like that. I like the way the author makes all the decisions realistic. She doesn't suddenly feel like, well, I've been here for 24 years. I might as well be here for another 80 or whatever. I like that. She's going to go back. There's a house that she got when her parents died on a planet that's like a year's travel away. Whether or not it's there anymore is anyone's guess, but the amount of money that she'd get for selling a friggin' space station and a small moon to the government, as well as all the findings they did have, because they did find, different anomalies and planets and celestial bodies and all that good space junk, that information they could sell to the government so they could find it. But she's got enough money that she'd go back, and if she needs to, she could rebuild the house or get into a legal battle with whoever took over her land, however that worked. But yeah, like I said, it's a very odd story, but it's a good story. It's just, it's a different tone than I would have expected from a story in this collection, and I was happy that I got to read it. So I have no problem with giving this story an easy 4 out of 5 stars. I'm very, very much enjoyed it. It did have some issues. I'm griping not because I dislike the story. I like this one very much. I have to point out the things that I see as weaker parts of the story or even flaws, because that's the purpose of this channel. Again, I don't do this for the readers. I do this for the authors. I want you to get the good and the bad. The way I see it, it's one man's opinion. Please don't believe just me. If you're a reader or an author and you're not the one that wrote this, then please click on the link below, get a copy of the book. It's not expensive. Read through it and come back and let me know if you think I nailed it, if I missed it, or anything in between, because I'd love to have a conversation, and hopefully it helps the next person that sees this video, because that's the point of the whole channel, is to make it so that we're all get better at our craft. And that's it. Another pair of book reviews are in the history books. As always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or complaints, feel free to put them in the comment section below, and I will get back to you as quick as I can. And as always, thanks.